Maria Delgado never meant to become famous. She just meant to press record. Her husband, Frank Delgado, had ridden with the Iron Wolves Motorcycle Club for 18 years. He wasn't a criminal. He fixed transmissions for a living and coached Little League on Saturdays. But that Tuesday afternoon, at the Exxon station on Route 9, two rookie officers slammed him to the pavement over a taillight violation that turned into something else entirely. Maria watched from the curb, phone shaking in her hands, as one officer wrenched Frank's cut, his club vest, the one with 18 years of patches sewn on by hand, off his shoulders and threw it on the ground like garbage. "That's not just a jacket," Maria screamed, her voice cracking on the recording that would later be viewed 11 million times. "That's his family. That's his life." A man in a navy suit stood nearby, arms crossed, watching without expression. Later, people would learn he was the deputy mayor, there for an unrelated ribbon cutting. He said nothing. Did nothing. Just watched. Frank didn't resist. He never once resisted. He lay on the hot concrete, cheek pressed to the ground, while the two young officers cuffed him for a dispute over a busted brake light. Maria's video went up at 4:47 p.m. By 6:15, the first riders started arriving. By 8 o'clock, there were 600 of them. They came from 3 states, refueling at truck stops, calling ahead so brothers could pass the word. No weapons, no signs. They rode into that town in perfect formation, engines rumbling low, and parked, row after row, filling the lot, spilling onto the shoulder of Route 9, then the block after that. Sergeant Bill Owens, 31 years on the force, had handled protests before. This wasn't a protest. Nobody shouted. Nobody threw anything. 600 people simply stood beside their bikes in silence, arms folded, waiting for someone to explain why a man who'd never had so much as a parking ticket was face down on the pavement over a taillight. The club's president, a gray-bearded man named Walt Higgins, a Vietnam veteran who later built a legal practice defending fellow vets, walked up to the police line alone. He didn't raise his voice. "We're not here for trouble," Walt said. "We're here because that's Frank's jacket on the ground, and Frank's never hurt a soul in his life. We want the jacket returned. We want an apology. And we want to know why a routine stop needed 2 men kneeling on a grown man's back." The chief of police arrived at 9:30, watched the footage on his own phone, and ordered the charges dropped on the spot. He picked up Frank's vest himself, brushed the dust from it with his own hands, and carried it over to where Frank sat on the curb. "I'm sorry," the chief said. "This should never have happened this way." Frank stood, took the jacket, and turned to the 2 young officers who'd put him on the ground. "You were just doing what you were trained to do," Frank said quietly. "I don't hold it against you personally. But maybe next time, ask questions before you act. That's all I ask." One of the officers, barely 24, looked like he might cry. "Yes, sir. I will." Maria lowered her phone for the first time in hours. Walt walked over and put a gentle hand on her shoulder. "You did good, filming this," he told her. "Sometimes the only weapon decent people need is the truth, shown plain." The riders didn't just disperse. They camped roadside until sunrise, sharing coffee and sandwiches from saddlebags. Before they left, they cleaned every inch of the lot themselves and left an envelope with the station owner covering a week of lost business. "We didn't want anyone to remember us as trouble," Walt told a reporter. "We wanted them to remember why we came." Frank still coaches Little League on Saturdays. He still fixes transmissions 6 days a week, wearing his cut proudly, 18 years of patches now closer to 19. "Everybody sees the leather and the tattoos and makes assumptions," Maria says now. "But that night I watched 600 strangers stand in silence for hours, asking for nothing but the truth and a little respect. My husband's brothers didn't come to start a fight. They came to make sure somebody was still standing beside him. That's not a gang. That's family. The taillight got fixed the next morning. Frank replaced it himself in 11 minutes, whistling while he worked, like nothing unusual had happened at all.